I'd like to kind of start today's video off by introducing y'all to one of the newest additions to my gaming setup. Yes, sir, baby. Quadcast S secured. That's right, everybody. I finally acquired a new mic, and now the sound quality sounds 10 times better than what it used to from this piece of junk coming out of my external microphone right here. So, without further ado, let's jump right into today's video. What is good, everybody? It's your boy Tico on Blitz, back at it again with another video. And today, I'm going to show you two very distinct games that I caught while I was streaming in the BZ75, and surprisingly enough, the CARRO 45 ton. These are two very different tier 10 tanks. One is a heavy, one is a medium, that have very different play styles, but on the other hand, are fairly solid. If I were to make it over to my replays folder right here, I actually have both of these games saved. So one of them in the BZ75 is going to be on Alpenstad, and this game was absolutely crazy. I was up against two players that were in platoon, one of them being a BZ75 and the other being a Kron. So we're going to take a look at these replays and see how I fare well and how I managed to do a big chunk of damage in these ones. So what I started doing with the BZ75 is make my way over towards the left side of the map right here, because some of the tanks are going to be poking out over towards C side right over here. So we're going to continue moving on forward right here and see what we spot in the process. And now in just about a couple seconds, their Kron is going to poke on out over to the side, and I get a very solid chunk of damage dealt to him. So he's going to poke on out here in just a couple seconds. And there he is. So there we go. 649 shot into the Kron. He ends up hitting me back, but upon my terms, I was able to trade the shell with him. So now a couple more enemies are spotted over towards the side. We got the enemy E100 towards the left. We also got the T110E5, which, fortunately enough, I was able to aim an high explosive squash head into the side and deal a pretty reasonable chunk of damage to him. So now we're already upwards of 1,300 damage at this point. So we're reloading once again. We see the Yag off to the side, and then we also got an E100 over here. So we're going to aim in right onto the Yag right there. Get a very nice 785 slap into the side of his vehicle. So we're reloading once again. He clearly doesn't even see me over towards the left side of him, and he gets cleared off in the process. Now off in the back right here, there is an enemy T95E6, who were able to get a very nice max roll for 975 into the side of his vehicle. And I literally said in my stream, that guy, I literally ruined his game. So we're going to reload once again. Probably that 95E6 was going to poke on out again, which he does, and he gets a shot into me. But something else bounces me in the process, being the enemy E100. T95E6 is going to get cleared by me. We're going to reload once again and make our way over towards the enemy E100 to help out my Super Comp finish him off. So we're reloading once again. We tried to see if we can get an HE into the side of his rear right here, but he over-angles the side of his turret in order for us to be able to cut through the back of his turret and deal 870 damage on him. So we're going to reload once again, and we are going to get another shot into the E100, try to do another high explosive squash head shot into the side of his turret, but instead I load a standard shell into the side of his turret, dealing 621 damage, and my guys are going to finish him off in the process. So then something else hits me off to the side here as well as I try to move on upwards after this E100 gets cleared. I did try to clear him while at it, but unfortunately my ping factors led to me not being able to shoot the shell into him, so I could care less. So yep, there's the bat shot off in the back, one of the players, as he tries to mosey on way afterwards. Just get a pot shot and run. So then here's the Pergetto off to the side. I don't even know how that ended up being a max roll, because he over-angled and the shell flew high right into his upper plate. So unfortunately, RNG seemed to have been on my side in this game. So we're going to move on up to the Pergetto and finish him off, breaking over the 6,000 damage mark. Alright, so now we are going to make our way over towards the enemy Kron over here, one of the players, while the other one is off in the back just trying to peck people off in the BC. So as I'm trying to cross over here, I do get pecked by him, but after I get a shell into the Kron and move on up after I reload my gun. So there's a nice 600 damage shot into the enemy Kron. So we're reloading once again. We're just waiting right behind this little wall right here, so then we can rush him, tunnel him, and finish him off. So then there we go. We get hit by the BC once. He's going to be able to hit us for a second time. The Kron ends up bouncing me. I get a nice shot into him for a low roll, but I end up finishing off with a ram. So now what I do, I know that BC is off in the back of the map, so what I do is I go down low and then head over towards the backside to where I'll be able to finish him off if he is corralling himself within a small little portion of the map. So the AMX 50B on our team calls base, but it doesn't really matter. So the BC gets a clear into our Super Conk, which is not ideal. He is going to clear our 60 TP here as well, as he is low health, trying to cap C base. So we're going to mosey on through right over here. There's our 60 right there. Our BC gets one tap into him, and he is able to get a second one, finishing him off. But that gives me the opportunity to go ahead and tunnel him in the process. This BC basically screwed himself, didn't find a good spot to plant himself so he can peck me off afterwards. And that is a very solid victory, dealing upwards of 7,798 damage, blocking 980 in the process, destroying 4, pulling an ace, and of course doing top on the team in the process while at it. Very solid game in the BZ75. Moving onwards towards these other 7,000 game that I managed to do in the CARRO 45 ton prior to my stream. This is the second time I've done past over 7,000 damage in one single stream. That is absolutely rare to see, especially for someone who is a so-called newer type of player. Well, actually, some of y'all already know that I played the game for over, whatever, 8.5 years, something like that. But, anyways, enough talk about that, as we're going to make our way towards the left side of the map right here and use our solid gun depression to poke over the ridgeline and peck off some of the enemies that try to push on upwards. So we're going to move on forward right over here. Got an enemy Yak spotted right over there. Got the enemy Super Conk right there, who I carelessly tried to take a pot shot into. Couldn't pen his turret one way or another, so I'm just like, screw it. I wanted to wait for him to overpoke his hole so I could get a nice solid chunk of damage into him, which ends up being the case. When I do spot their enemy VK off in the back, I decide to go for him instead. And then I notice a BZ68 pushing up over towards the far right side. So I want to keep my attention over towards the Super Conk right here. He fires once again. I don't know how that shell bounced. That was aimed perfectly right into his lower plate. But regardless, I wait for him to fire a second time. The BZ continues to push on up. I get a solid chunk of damage into him, and we are able to get a second shell into him while at it. The Super Conk is going to continue to stay into that fold down position right there, which is not ideal. Saw he fired again, so I was going to wait for him to fire a second time. But this one, he just kind of fires into the ground for some odd reason. I don't really know why. So yep, he fires right into the ground. I don't know if he was trying to hit that big box on the top of my hatch or something, on the top of my turret, my apologies. But anyways, I'm going to make my way, continue over towards the ridgeline right here, and hold this guy off to the best of my ability. So then I'm like, what do I want to do at this point? I see an enemy Jagdpanzer that is literally brought down to smithereens of his health, so I try to get a shot into his turret cheek, but he angles at the last second, so I was unfortunate enough not to get it. Got the VK pushing on upwards, able to get a nice shell into him, but he trades the shell with me, unfortunately enough. So I'm like, yeah, I'm just going to wait for my shells to reload so that I can try to hold these guys off to the best of my ability, as I have a teammate besides me that doesn't really know what the heck he's doing, because he is a no camo vehicle. So we get a nice shell into the lower plate of the VK4502, bringing us up close to 2,000 damage at this point. I was hoping the E100 would have gotten a finishing shell into that Jagdpanzer, as he seems to be a potential threat towards some of the other allies on my team. So then I go over, make my way over here, try to hatch him twice, but I end up missing. He fires once, misses me as well. Missed again on his hatch, but I get the clear on him as he ends up over-angling at the last second, which is good. So now I'm going to reload my clip right here, and then I notice that another tank of ours gets cleared, and now it's just us three remaining. So what I do is I go over towards this hill right over here and use my gun depression to the best of my ability. I don't worry about going with my teammates, just because if I do, then I could end up killing myself in the process, as my whole armor is extremely weak, especially in a medium tank. Alright, so there is the enemy BZ spotted right over there. Able to get a nice shell into him for 368. And then what I feel like doing is moseying on over right behind this rock. So, because I already know that BZ is not going to be able to finish me off, as we get a nice on-movement dispersion shot into that VK while at it. Get another shell into the BZ. He fires, does 470, which gives me the opportunity to go in and finish him off. So we're moseying on over. Get a nice clear into the enemy BZ 68. So then I'm like, nah, I don't really want to dump that reserve shell. I want to save it for safekeeping. Because that's basically what you got to do with the reserve shell. You only want to use it when you're in a dire case, which I do end up using on the Super Conquer right over there. But when I end up moving on over to try to help my E100, the VK misses his shell. So I mosey on over towards the Super Conch right here. All 4 of my shells are loaded, so we're able to get 1 shell into him. Load an HE, do 524 on the back of his vehicle. Reloading once again, get a 3rd shell into him. And then I kind of debated on whether I want to fire that reserve shell. So I did it anyways, just because I didn't want the enemies to clear my E100, especially the Super Conquer in this case. So then I'm reloading my full clip once again. I notice the VK's moving on upwards, so I'm like, yep, I'm moving on downwards. So then the 60 TP, unfortunately, gets a clear into our E100 right there. VK shoots him once, and yeah, there he goes. So now it is a 1v2 situation against 2 fairly healthy heavy tanks in the process. So what I do is I'm going to just run away and bail on out, find a hold down position to where these enemies will have a hard time hitting me, and try to see if I can outmatch them to the best of my ability. So I am running over towards the hill right over here and using my gun depression. I got all of my shells reloaded back in my clip, which is good. So I'm going to make my way over this ridge line right here, as these guys are going to continue to push on upwards on the hill right here. Got the VK spotted right there. We are able to get 1 shell into his vehicle. A little bit of a low roll, but that's okay. We're able to get 2 shells in him. He gets a bounce into me, which is good. And we are able to finish him off afterwards. So now, against a very healthy 60 TP, I know I have enough DPM factors if I reload my entire clip to finish off that 60 TP. So what I do is I don't want him to push up on me, so I make my way over behind him, and I realize that I have just the right amount of hit points to be able to take a shot from him. So my clip is fully reloaded. I see him trying to push on up towards me, so then he backs on up. I want to see if I could try to get a hatching shot into him before he has a chance of trying to hit me. So I aim in on him, not able to get a shell into me. So now he's going to continue to push on up towards me, which he kind of made a dire mistake towards that, because he doesn't really have the gun depression to get a shot into me. Trying to poke over that ridge line, get another shell into him. He activates his tungsten, gets a high roll of 750, but that is not going to be enough to finish me off. And there we go. That is another 7,000 damage game in the CARRO 45 ton. These were 2 very solid games, demonstrating the awesome play styles of both a heavy and a medium tank. So, in this one, we were able to do 7349 damage, pull out an ace once again, kill 5 in the process, or 7329, my apologies. Of course, doing top on the team while at it as well. It's extremely rare to see somebody doing 7,000 damage in 2 games upon 1 stream. I was even fortunate enough to even understand the playstyle of these tanks in order to find like the best spots to hide from in case of the enemies are trying to tunnel me to the best of their ability, along with using some of their other factors that contributed towards those wins. Anyways, hopefully you guys did end up enjoying today's video. If you did, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. And make sure to turn on those bell notifications so you be notified whenever I upload any new videos. And I hope to see you guys in the next one. Peace out, y'all.